What's good, everybody? Do you want to become rich? Do you want to become successful? This is not one of those shady TV ads. I promise you by the end of this video, you're going to have the weapons and tools required in order to become a successful human being from one of the smartest men in India today, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, sir.
Thank you so much, Ranveer.
So thank you for being on the Ranveer Show. Trust me, I'm so excited about this interview because I personally have seen a lot of your content. I've read about you so much and I know the kind of treasury of knowledge you have, but I really want to share it with the youth today.
It's an honor to be on the Ranveer Show. I'm here to actually learn from you. Thank you for making me a part of this show.
I'm very humbled, but thanks. So Radha sir is an expert on the subject of Chanakya. He's written 12 books on the subject and he's possibly the most well-read human you'll ever come across in the life. Lots to learn from the living legend and it's coming straight at you on the Ranveer Show. So one question, the first question for you is, Chanakya was a kingmaker.
Yes.
And that's kind of the role you're carrying forward in your life through your books.
Yes.
You're creating kings.
Yes.
There's a lot of potential kings watching this.
Yes.
Who are directionless right now in life.
Yes.
What advice do you have for them?
So first of all, you want to be a king, you be sure about that. Kingmakers will come. You know, one of the biggest problems I find in India for the last few centuries probably, we've been trained to be followers. Be it the education system, be it the colonial rule or whatever, you know. The moment a child is born, we are training him or her to think as a follower. Somebody decides what your life is going to be. Somebody decides what your job is going to be. Somebody decides where you're going to stay. See, leadership is not about a position. अंदर से leader बनो पहले, बाहर से बन जाओगे. The problem is a lot of people get positions of chairs, maybe designations, but you know, from deep within they are rats. You need to be thinking like a lion, and believe me, kingmakers will come. So what I believe is that the youth generation is not the generation which was born in poverty. In India, you are lucky people who are actually seeing the upside of India. Now it's important to channelize that energy with good mentorship. So make sure you are surrounded by kingmakers so that you become kings.
Crazy. So someone who hasn't found their passion in life. I understand that, okay, they might find direction from their kingmakers, but passion is one of those things that people can't zero in on.
Yes.
What's your advice?
Three things. Number one, it takes time to find your passion. Because a lot of time it's experimenting. So, you know, some people experiment in this field and that field and they're not sure. And today is a world of opportunities. So number one, it takes time to discover your passion. Second, just because you've not found your passion doesn't mean you will not find your passion in the long run. So, you know, a lot of people, because they compare and say that this guy got his passion, she got his passion, I'm not. So it will come. The third and the most important thing, the day you discover your passion, it will just happen in a moment. A lot of people think it's a process. In a way, it's a process, but the reality is that it just happens and nobody else has to tell you. You will know it. So your passion will come from your intuition.
So there was this very interesting topic we just spoke about before the interview called Anvishiki. Do you want to elaborate a little bit? Because you say that it's the most important life skill, the most important kind of intelligence.
Anvikshiki. Beautiful word, right?
Yes.
And probably unknown to our generation. When I read it for the first time, it comes as the first chapter in the Arthashastra of Chanakya. I said, I didn't even know how to pronounce it, like you get it wrong. And then it's called Anvikshiki iti Prathama Vidya. The first knowledge for leaders is Anvikshiki. Anvikshiki means actually to think critically, think strategically. I call it the science of thinking. Interestingly, in our ancient Gurukul system, people were taught, or I would say students and children were taught how to think strategically. You know, we teach them numbers, we teach them mathematics and how to read and write. Nothing wrong in that, those are skills. But you know, a child is first a thinker, whether you educate him or no.
And a questioner?
A questioner, an inquirer, a person who is inquisitive to know better. So the first quality you require is the whole ability to learn, relearn and unlearn. So Anvikshik is a process of that, and that's why Chanakya says first be a learner, a strategic thinker, an investigator, a logical thinker, and of course with a lot of EQ.
कि ये ऐसे क्यों हो रहा है?
बिल्कुल, आप क्वेश्चनिंग माइंड रखोगे ना, नॉट अ डाउटिंग माइंड. देखिए, डाउटिंग माइंड और क्वेश्चनिंग माइंड में बहुत बड़ा फर्क है. डाउटिंग माइंड इज वेरी नेगेटिव बिकॉज आप किसी पे विश्वास ही नहीं रखते. There's a lot of trust defective when you are doubting somebody. But Anvikshik is about inquiry. For example, I come into the studio, my mind is already thinking, wow, what a color, the sound is different, the person is different. And now with that inquiry I learn, I start comparing. So Anvikshik is the ability of the mind to like, wow, and also, let me tell you, it is not a very negative strategy in that sense. It's also a mind which is always in wonder. Like a child's mind, you have seen how inquisitive he or she is. The moment it comes out, it's looking at colors, the feel, the sound. I think we should develop that skill in us. You may be old, you may be young, but never, ever, ever leave the wonderment in you. That will make you a great leader.
So I see a lot of, especially, I hate saying this, but corporate employees or people who've done their MBAs who I feel somewhere lose their anvikshiki.
Yes.
Because they are very comfortable in systems.
Absolutely.
कि दुनिया ऐसे चलती है, मैं भी ऐसे ही करूँगा, मैं ऐसे अपनी life जीऊँगा.
जी.
What advice do you have for them? One, is it too late? Or two, do you think things can change?
I believe change can happen any moment. For some people it's early, some people it's late. Like, we have CEOs of company who started their company maybe in 18, 19, 20 years. There are people who started their company at 45 also. So remember one thing, it's not the time. So there are a lot of factors for success of people, especially if you are getting conditioned. So let's say you start a business at the age of 18, 19, 20, you're not conditioned, you start at your level. But there are some people who get conditioned and then they lose their jobs. Then you have to recondition yourself. So I think one of the advantages of the corporate world is that initially it gives you money, fame and stability of job, but today people are losing corporate jobs also. So my advice to youngsters especially is that if you want to get into the corporate world, don't look at a permanent job scenario, because everything in corporates is changing. Look at Jet Airways, I think it was a 25 years company and today people are jobless. Go to corporates with the learning experience and the whole idea of saying that I can learn from it, but an opportunity comes, start your own business.
You really feel that's a good piece of advice for me?
100%. Because businessman is not about running a company. Businessman requires to be continuously dynamic at the intellectual and mental level, and of course emotional level. It's very easy to sit down and say I got a job and I'm going to get a salary at the end of the month. But a businessman is the one who pays those people. Instead of being a job seeker, be a job creator.
100%. So in one of your talks, you spoke about this process of a shift in global power.
Yes.
And you also said that global power is shifting to India.
Yes.
So why do you say that? Like, what is happening here? What kind of potential does the youth have to play with?
There's a logical shift happening. 2-3 reasons. First of all, we have one of the most youth populations of the world. Everybody talks about it. For me, youth is not just an age group. Youth is also aspirations, it's also energy, it's the ability to experiment. See what happens after a particular age, people mellow down. How many people have you actually seen dynamic after 60? There are a few exceptions. So number one, the whole world is shifting to India, the power is shifting to India because a lot of energy level here. Second important thing, we were always the knowledge keepers of the world for traditionally so many years, including the spiritual knowledge. What happened? It became dormant, it did not die because of colonial and a lot of other inventions. So we were never original. Now as a generation, I know I go to a lot of places and speak on Chanakya, there is a huge acceptance. So I know that India is emerging on its own strength. The third and the most important thing, financial. The country that I was born in was a poor India. But today I can see people are in a different world. Today an average middle class person also has traveled to probably a few countries. Today technology is giving us common platforms. So for me, the power is going to shift to India because we are at the right place at the right time.
One other very interesting anecdote from one of your talks was this fact that you said that the best kings, the most successful men, have a spiritual side to them.
Yes.
What is the role of spirituality in success, in money making, in this pursuit of fame, pursuit of cash?
Now let me tell you, the misunderstanding of spirituality means he becomes a sage. Now that's very interesting to know, that spirituality doesn't make you just a meditative person. For me, meditation is one small part of a spiritual person. It's like you're driving a car and you need to stop and fill up your petrol. So in the mornings when you meditate, that's not the whole activity that you charge yourself, go out and do whatever work is there in your destiny. So some people run businesses, right? So you can have a great business from a spiritual side. Some people can be a sportsman, some people can be a great administrator. In fact, Chanakya calls this as Raja Rishi. He's a Raja, imagine, he's a king, he's had to run the whole kingdom. And a king has to deal with a sinner and a saint. So all type of people come. If you don't have a spiritual background, you will not be able to take the right decisions. So please understand, I believe in practical spirituality, not the spirituality that makes you introvert, lazy and unproductive. In fact, the greatest giants were spiritual. Swami Vivekananda. If you look at it, his birthday is celebrated as the National Youth Day. Even the youth of India doesn't know, not many of them. But was he lazy? He said first play the football before you read the Bhagavad Gita. So I think I'm talking about that spirituality that will make you active, dynamic, focused and result oriented. And of course, selfless.
That's true. I think your basic key decisions boil down to how your spiritual quotient is.
Absolutely.
If it's a strong spiritual quotient, the decision will keep pushing you onto the correct path. And then over time, maybe you build a house based on all your correct decisions. What brings people down in life? One thing that brings people down.
One and only one thing. Ego. See, for me, ego is not about the I. Sometimes when I speak, I say I. You also. That's one part of it. But the ego that gets into comparisons. I'm better than you. See, the moment you start comparing, and unfortunately that's a trend in India. You always compare. If you look at our parents, तुम्हारा बेटा पढ़ाई नहीं करता, मेरा बेटा पढ़ाई करता है. It's very subtle ego. My house is bigger than yours. My car is better than yours. That's where the downfall starts. What's important is that when you are at the peak, or you feel you're number one, be humble. Because the moment it gets onto your head saying that I'm an achiever, there's somebody else who's there. So it's very important that in success, never ever get into that whole mode that I am number one. In fact, I believe that successful people understand that they can't be successful forever. And that's why they're successful forever.
Beautiful. So one thing I strongly believe about my own generation is that we're the generation who's going to scale up India.
Yes.
Compared to the previous generation.
Yes.
What do we have over our parents' generation? What are we doing correct in life?
The first thing, you should thank them.
Yes, for sure, 100%. But if you just compare the two generations, what does this generation have over our parents' generation other than knowledge? I know we have the internet and all that.
Yes.
On a more human level,
Yeah.
there's something different happening with this generation.
Yes. So I feel two things happen here. There is something called a generation gap, which is natural, okay? So it's not like my parents and me, or maybe me and my children, there'll be some difference of opinion. So I don't think that's a problem. In fact, that's an advantage. Differences are not weaknesses. They're the strengths of a group. So if you can think differently, it's good. You can actually sit and debate with your parents. Our generation could not. Do you know? The joke that our generation, boys and girls, talk about, saying that we are a generation that got hit by parents and also get hit by children. So today you can debate with your parents in the bedroom or maybe in the hall with any topic. We did not have that advantage. For us, our parents and grandparents were dick packs. So I think that's the first advantage that you have, where you can talk about anything. And even if you don't want to talk to your parents, there's social media. You can talk to hundreds of them, get the idea across. You don't have to suppress it. The second advantage that you have is opportunities. You can choose between this field and that field, which probably you can't explain to others. But unfortunately, what is happening? Opportunities, too many, is becoming a problem of too many choices. If you got to choose between one or two, it's okay. But today you can choose of hundreds of careers, hundreds of places to go and all those things. So somewhere I believe that you have the ability to express your ideas, experiment with your ideas, make money in any field. I mean, unimaginable fields, right? But at the same time, what also is the challenge here is that among opportunities, which do you narrow down to make your passion? So I think opportunities is something that has been open to your generation across the globe. Decide first, you'll be successful forever. So that's some kind of thing.
Thank you. This was numbing for me. That's the kind of knowledge that you've shared on this. So again, I have to say, we all, even the viewers, feel honored to have listened to you. Thank you for being on the Ranveer Show, sir. I'm going to be linking Sir's handles on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, everything. Please go follow Sir. He's going to become an influencer very soon on digital.
I have a personal dream.
Yes.
Can I share that?
Yes, of course, sir.
Whether you can want to take it or no, that's your decision. What are the vision that I have in my life is that if I can connect to the youth and show them that India's greatest strength is spirituality. The problem is, and it's very sad, I tell the grandparents also, the responsibility of the grandparents is not done by grandparents anymore. See, we used to have Dada Dadi ki kahaniyan. Today, grandfathers and grandparents are getting into social media. Nothing wrong. They need to teach them values, spirituality. This generation lacks it. We're not spending that much. So, for me, when I see a mass of youth of this particular country, they require guides and mentors. This generation requires heroes, not celebrities. Let me wind up by telling you what is the difference that I heard about hero and a celebrity. A celebrity is somebody who comes and goes, and you like him or her. But you'll never give up your life for a celebrity. I know so many people, celebrity tha, hero tha, jail mein gaya, theek hai na, I mean, okay, fair. But a hero is somebody like a Subhash Chandra Bose. He or she says, come on, the whole nation awakens. I mean, tell me one person in this particular generation that इसने बोला तो हम मरने को तैयार हैं. I'm not here to get patriotic and go and die for it. I'm saying that this generation requires role models.
Yes.
And if I can create a little bit of more role models or leaders, because I'm a creator of leaders, I think this country will be the greatest country, and this generation will make India proud again.
Yes.
India is not about what you see. India is not about what you feel.
Yes.
Only a spiritual person can understand India.
100%. I completely agree.
Thank you.
Chalo, guys, thank you again. Thank you for being on the Ranveer Show. We'll see you later.